The year is 1945. World War II in Europe is over. Victory parades fill the streets, and soldiers are dreaming of home. But for one of America's most famous generals, George S. Patton, the fight was far from finished. A new, colder war was beginning, and Patton saw it coming before almost anyone else. What if I told you that the official story of his death, a simple car accident, is just the beginning of a much darker, more complex tale? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on Patton's final secret war. General George S. Patton, old blood and guts. A larger-than-life figure, known for his pearl-handled revolvers, his fiery speeches, and his brilliant, aggressive tank tactics that tore through the heart of the Third Reich. He was the commander the Germans feared most. But as the Nazi regime crumbled, Patton's gaze shifted eastward, towards a new threat he believed was just as dangerous: the Soviet Union. While Allied leaders were celebrating their partnership with Joseph Stalin, Patton was horrified. He saw the Red Army not as an ally, but as a horde that had replaced one form of tyranny with another. Stationed as the military governor of Bavaria in occupied Germany, he witnessed firsthand the brutality and expansionist ambitions of the Soviets. He wrote in his diary, "We have destroyed one evil, only to create another, more monstrous one." Patton wasn't one to keep his opinions quiet. He openly criticized the post-war policies. He argued that the Allies should have pushed on to Berlin before the Soviets, and even suggested we should rearm German soldiers to help push the Red Army back to its own borders. To the politicians in Washington and London, this was insane. They wanted peace and stability. Patton was seen as a loose cannon, a warmonger threatening to ignite World War III. This is where the story takes a turn into the shadows. Patton wasn't just talking, he was acting. He resisted the denazification orders, arguing that experienced German administrators and technicians were needed to rebuild the country and create a buffer against communism. He saw them as the lesser of two evils. He was accused of being soft on former Nazis, but in his mind, he was playing a long game. He was waging a political war, a shadow war, against what he called the Mongol influence of the Soviets. His superiors were furious. He was relieved of his command of the Third Army, the very army he had led to glory. It was a public humiliation. He was reassigned to a desk job, commanding the 15th Army, a unit that existed mostly on paper, tasked with writing the history of the war. For a man of action like Patton, this was a prison, but it didn't silence him. He planned to return to the United States, resign his commission, and go on a speaking tour to tell the American people the truth as he saw it. He was ready to expose the political deals and what he believed was a betrayal of a hard-won victory. Then, on December 9, 1945, just one day before he was scheduled to fly home, tragedy struck. On a cold, clear day near Mannheim, Germany, Patton's staff car was involved in what was described as a low-speed, minor traffic accident. A 2.5-ton army truck inexplicably turned in front of his Cadillac. The collision seemed minor. The other passengers in the car were barely scratched. But Patton, sitting in the back seat, suffered a catastrophic neck injury that left him paralyzed from the neck down. He was rushed to a hospital in Heidelberg. For 12 days, he fought for his life. The world watched, praying for the old warrior's recovery. But on December 21, 1945, General George S. Patton died. The official cause was a pulmonary embolism, a blood clot. The case was closed. An unfortunate, tragic accident. But was it? From the very beginning, doubts and questions lingered. Why was the official accident report so thin? And why did it later go missing? Why were there so many conflicting accounts from witnesses? The driver of the truck, a Private Robert Thompson, was whisked away and was never formally questioned by investigators on the record before being sent back to the States. This is where the story plunges deeper into the world of espionage and conspiracy. Years later, a man named Douglas Bezada, a former operative for the Office of Strategic Services, or OSS, the forerunner to the CIA, made a shocking claim. On his deathbed, he confessed that he had been ordered to assassinate Patton. He claimed he wasn't the one who caused the crash, but that he was part of a backup plan. He said he staged the accident and then, using a slingshot-like device, fired a projectile of rubber and metal into Patton's neck to break it, making it look like an injury from the crash. Bezada's story sounds like something out of a spy novel. He claimed the order came from the head of the Oz himself, Wild Bill Donovan, who supposedly feared Patton would ruin his own post-war political ambitions and disrupt the fragile peace with the Soviets. Bezada even alleged that when Patton survived the crash, Soviet NKVD agents, the precursor to the KGB, were sent to the hospital to finish the job by poisoning him. Is this credible? Bezada was a known storyteller, and there's no hard evidence to back up his fantastic claims. But he wasn't the only one. Another former OSS agent, Steven Skubik, wrote a book claiming that he had uncovered a plot to kill Patton. A plot orchestrated not just by rogue American elements, but by high-level Soviet officials who saw Patton as the single biggest obstacle to their domination of Eastern Europe. Let's look at the motives. Who would want Patton dead? The list is surprisingly long. First, the Soviets. Patton was their most vocal and powerful enemy in the West. He was actively working to undermine their control in Germany and was advocating for a military confrontation. Eliminating him would remove a major thorn in their side. Second, elements within the U.S. government. Patton was a political nightmare. He was insubordinate, loud, and he was about to go public with criticisms that could have severely damaged the Truman administration's foreign policy and its relationship with the Soviet Union. Was his death a convenient way to silence a problematic general before he could derail the post-war order? And third, we can't discount vengeful former Nazis. Though Patton used some of them for administrative purposes, he was still the man who had crushed their armies. There were certainly fanatics left who would have wanted revenge. The accident was a perfect cover. The more you dig, the stranger it gets. Why was there no autopsy performed on Patton's body, a standard procedure for someone of his rank dying under such unusual circumstances? His family was told it wasn't necessary. His body was quickly embalmed and buried in Luxembourg, among the soldiers of his beloved Third Army. On one hand, we have the official story, a tragic but straightforward car accident. Accidents happen, even to famous generals. It's the simplest explanation. But as we know, the simplest explanation isn't always the right one. On the other hand, we have a web of intrigue, confessions, and powerful motives. We have a general who was making powerful enemies on all sides. He was preparing to blow the whistle on post-war policy in a way that would have created a political firestorm. And just as he's about to do it, he's silenced forever by a bizarre, low-speed fender bender. It's an almost unbelievable coincidence. Patton's legacy is that of a brilliant, controversial military commander. But perhaps his true final battle wasn't fought on the fields of Europe with tanks and guns. Perhaps it was a silent war, waged in the corridors of power and the back alleys of espionage. A war against forces that were determined to shape the post-war world, with or without him. Whether he was the victim of a simple accident or a complex assassination plot, one thing is certain. George S. Patton's story didn't end with the surrender of Germany. His final months were a dramatic, untold chapter of the Cold War's very beginning. He saw the Iron Curtain descending before Churchill even gave it a name, and he may have paid the ultimate price for trying to tear it down before it was fully built. The shadow of his death and the questions it raises still hangs over his monumental legacy. What do you think? Was it a tragic accident, or was General Patton the first casualty of the Cold War? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy exploring the hidden corners of history, Make sure to subscribe for more.